All right, everybody, welcome to the plug-in. I'm standing in the front right now, welcoming my father, my pops, my dad. You know, Bruce. Usually, y'all know I don't introduce the person, but somebody of this stature, I gotta introduce on myself. Um, First, I'm gonna shout out his city, Philly. See we got the hats on. Um, my town, Phoenixville. Um, and then we're gonna shout out Virginia too, Newport News, and also we're gonna shout out Cleveland, Ohio, um, and then Texas and Cali. We'll get into them states too, and overseas, Germany. We're gonna plug in all this. It's a long list of places, but those top three ones: Virginia, PA, Ohio. Um, those ones we putting out on the map from the door. So I'm gonna get the mic over to my pops and let him introduce himself formally and tell y'all, where he's from and all that.
First of all, let me say I'm really happy. Um, and then months later, we brought on Betty and the other girls. Um, it didn't take long because with the help of Grandpa, my mom and dad, um, and Uncle Donald, we got them all in Philadelphia. Where they came to live at first was with us. So it was 4 adults and 10 kids in one 3-bedroom house.
Your house?
Yeah,
Chew?
yeah,
Oh, I like. All right. See, I
yeah,
probably knew that and just forgot. So
yeah,
y'all. So that's another thing. Like with my mom's family, like you actually really come up like brothers and sisters,
yeah.
being all in the same house.
Oh, yeah.
And that's another thing that my generation, uh, my younger sister generation, like we didn't experience that. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like that's a change of the times, but it's really cool though to talk to people that
Lived during that time.
Yeah.
And went through that. You know, that was in the late 60s, early 70s, um, and then the late 70s, early 80s.
Did y'all have parties for like
Every day.
but like for y'all birthdays in August, like all the kids
Every year.
But y'all have like one big party?
Yeah. Before the stars came, my mother used to throw one big party for the boys in August. It was easier that way.
Yeah.
And less expensive.
Yeah.
Um, for Brenda, she was October. So, and she was spoiled. She was the youngest kid and the only girl.
Right.
My father really took care of his daughter and his wife. So
I think that was something that I had down, talking about Pop. Like how was he? Well, you just started to go into it, but like as a father, because I'm still like the Father's Day month, which is this month, so I'm still kind of on the fatherhood stuff. So how was he as a father?
he was my best friend. I can't say it any. Like Butch was my ace. My father was my best friend. I could go to him about anything, even drugs.
Mm.
And you know what he'd tell me?
Mm.
I don't know anything about him, but I can listen.
So that's good though, because he wasn't like,
judgmental.
yeah, and like trying to like push you
That,
away. Yeah.
no, I was his son, and I was suffering.
Um. Yeah, that's heavy. What? Let's talk about your part of the city during when y'all was growing up. How was it?
Um, Being a street person, I knew the whole city, even the depths, the rat holes. I can remember going in the houses, and it was stacked so full of stuff that you had to worm your way through it to get upstairs.
Just
And
all kinds of junk.
that's where the party was, upstairs.
You gotta get up there though.
Right, right.
Um, do you remember? Do you recall any time? Because we love this city, right? But do you recall any time during between like 60s, 70s, 80s when it just seemed like it just went down with like something that happened and maybe politically or just y'all ever look back and be like, I remember things changed after such as
we had a black mayor. Name was Wilson Good, and there was a group in I think it was Nicetown called Move, and I forget what the acronym stood for, but it was all positive, political, and
all black.
If I recall, it was all black. But the one thing was that for some reason in the neighborhood that they lived in, which I and my wife used to drive through to get to a clinic that I attended, was there were a lot of flies, so many so that it looked like a dust storm. And Mayor Good, because of the community pressure that was put on him, decided that he was going to put an end to this group and dropped a percussion bomb on that part of the city. It's the worst political move, I think, that any politician could ever make. And it's been so many years ago, I don't recall all of the details. But if you look it up on Google, you'll find it. And you can check what I left out.
So the mayor was trying to
get rid of them.
Yeah, that's major. And but they were positive.
Yeah, to a degree. I didn't think that they were trying to hurt anybody.
Now, did this go into like with like racism or anything like that or no?
It was about the black struggle.
Right.
So I think it was about
race was involved, right?
Yeah.
Now, when y'all was in school, y'all didn't really have to go through a lot of the racism that seemed like was more.
No, we did.
Yeah.
The Black Student Union came about in my high school years, and that is when the Black Student Union and the Black Power movement came into existence. I think it was 1972 at the Olympics when the fist was raised by
a runner.
Both of them came in 1-2, and they stood on the podium and raised their fist for Black Power. And that was the start of the movement.
So the same stuff that you would see, like, you know, on TV or on the news, was y'all was seeing that, and that was like an everyday struggle
Right,
with the police or whomever, right?
right.
Yeah, just times. So then the 80s is when it started. Did it feel a little bit different when the 80s came in?
Nah,
Still the same. When did you leave Philly?
I left in 79.
All right, so let's get into. So that's, you had already met my mom. Let's talk about.
Well, I really left when I met your mother in 77.
All right,
Yeah.
so let's talk about that. Like how y'all met, and the little, you know.
I was in a program for alcohol and drug abuse here in Pottstown.
Okay.
And, you know, it was a little program that came on the scene to help alcoholics and addicts that were struggling in life. There were personality differences. A lot of times in places like that, fights occurred. And I and 3 other gentlemen all got into a fight. And 2 were on that side, and me and another guy were given the chance to leave with a good conduct, because we didn't start the fight. And I had a chance to go with either this guy to Ambler or this guy to Phoenixville.
So obviously you chose the latter.
I chose the one furthest away from Philadelphia.
Phoenixville.
Right. I got in touch with my parents and let them know what had happened and what I was going to do. And they came to see me the next day.
Excuse me.
God bless you. And they brought me my clothes, some money, and their well wishes, you know.
Really fast, I don't want to, I'm going to come back because sometimes I feel like I skip too far too fast. I want to take a few minutes for your brothers and your sister. I want you to, for Uncle Butch, Barry, and Bub, and Brenda. I want, you know, for people that don't know, and for the family too, something special basically about each one, but we wouldn't know. Probably most likely we wouldn't know.
Okay. Uncle Butch went to college right away, and he went to North Carolina A&T down in Raleigh. It was good for him to get away, and he went on a scholarship that was in, I think it was biology. And he did well. freshman, sophomore, and the beginning of his junior year. Um, Coming out of high school, I had no plans to go to college right away because in the 11th grade, I got a job working for Philadelphia National Bank. And in the bank, and I got this um, through no account of my own except my academics. I was rated so high that myself and 19 other 11th graders got chosen to go into a program called Operation Prepare at Philadelphia National Bank. And we went into different areas of the bank. And the plan was for high school students to learn the business banking world. That was the emphasis on our training. I started out in trust, the trust department, and everybody was given a different department to go to. As you did well in that department, you would cycle through to another department. And I went from trust to data prep to data processing to computer operations until when I graduated, I was offered a full-time job, which I accepted as a computer operator.
What was the school you said that you went to? North
Carolina A&T,
A&T.
Agriculture and Tech.
That's not an HBCU, is it?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
Real quick, shout out to the HBCUs. And they're trying to get kids to go to Cheney right now for free. So I make sure I plug that in for a couple times throughout, this episode here. You guys should really think about, you can only gain from going to a college, and they say you can even gain a little bit more attending at HBCU. So, yeah, shout out to that. I wasn't sure. I thought it was, but I wasn't sure. So, how did he end up in Florida?
His wife Jacqueline, was a legal practitioner. She worked for lawyers, and they offered her a position at their practice in Port St. Lucie, Florida.
So that's how they got. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So he finished though at the school, at the college?
He didn't finish there, but he finished in Florida. He got sick in his junior year. He got hepatitis B, and he was really sick and had to come home to fight through that battle, which he did. It took about 3 months, and he came back strong and applied for and got a position with the county of Port St. Lucie as their finance director. Went back to Port St. Lucie and did the blueprints, the construction, 30% of it, and built his home.
Yeah, that house that they have is nice. Let's talk about Uncle Bub.
Uncle Bub a genius. He didn't need to go to college. That's how smart he was. He worked with my father at General Electric as a programmer at first, but then he got into network design, and when he did that, he took off and got a position out in Silicon Valley. And him and his wife moved to California, to Santa Clara.
See, so wait, so I feel like I didn't even know that. Shout out to Aunt Cindy. I did not know that, I don't think.
No, you didn't.
Santa Clara.
But I was stationed in California
at the time.
At the time they were in California.
So
you weren't even born yet.
Is that how my mom got tight with Aunt Cindy? Like because they seemed like they was like tight, really tight at one point. So that's probably
right.
Okay, that makes sense. And then like the pictures we don't have any pictures right on hand right now, but like some of the pictures that you were showing me the other day, right?
Yeah.
All right. That makes a lot of sense. So the genius thing right there is, real quick, last thing. Who gave him the name Bub?
That's a nickname that he got when he was young, and I don't know who gave it to him.
It might have been your mom, right? Or your dad, or one of the. All right, but no,
I didn't have a nickname, if you noticed.
Right.
Neither did Barry.
Right.
Brenda's middle name was Joy, but we never used it.
Let's go to Uncle Barry next.
Barry was the tough nut. He was bad at math. And I say that because my dad used to tutor all of us. He was a professor who taught differential equations to college students.
So you just made me think of something. I wanted you to tell the family. So that iconic picture that we were trying to flip it. It's your mom and dad. Can you tell the family like what's going on with that picture? Like what were they? I can see Pop has on his
cap and gown.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had graduated from LaSalle College with his bachelor's degree in mathematics.
There's another picture. Did you ever see the picture with Pop and his mom and dad? Is that Uncle Barry's? I think that's his mom and dad. But the mom, she looks white.
That's cousins.
Oh.
That's Larry and Herline. They're cousins.
So that's not his mom and dad?
No, that's his first cousins.
Okay. He looked like a baby.
And his mother, who they lived with for a long time, was Larry's mother, was my father's aunt.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was their parents. I thought it was his parents. So it's all right. So
they're joiners, which they're related to the to the radio personality Tom Joyner
Okay.
off the radio station.
Yes, I think. We always thought that he looked like Indian or something.
I'm not sure what his background is, but it possibly is.
Like his hair and yeah, we gotta do that ancestor whatever.
Yeah.
Look it up. All right, so the other picture though was when he graduated, he said from the South.
Right.
All right. All right, so I think we were saying
Not Uncle Barry.
Uncle Barry, you said he was like a hothead or something.
He was he wasn't the smartest wrench in the toolbox, but he had a lot of common sense,
And that take you a long way too.
and it did. I mean, he retired after 39 years in the post office and the National Guard, Air Force National Guard. He was a hard worker, and he worked real hard for his family. My dad saw that special quality in Barry, that he would not be moved or influenced by anyone. So he left him in charge of his estate, not his namesake, Butch, Uncle Butch, me, the banker, Uncle Bub, the most intellectual, but Barry, the weakest link, but the most stable out of all four of us. My dad was a smart guy. He knew what he was doing.
That makes a lot of sense. So, last but not least, and Brenda.
She went to Penn State. First in Philadelphia at the, I forget what campus, but it was in Philly.
Right.
And then she went to main campus in Penn State campus.
And she went to State College. I didn't know that.
State College, yeah.
And she graduated.
Yeah. She married a University of Pennsylvania doctor, Gregory Carson, whose father was a Circuit Court of Appeals judge, and his mother was a Philadelphia school board committee member. Very classy family, I can say. So that's all of us.
What do you think, like, what's something that you miss, like, from each one?
Butch was my right-hand man. I could call him and talk to him about anything. He was my best man, Bubby, I could call Bubby about any problem, math problem that I couldn't solve. And he was good like that. And he didn't mind helping me. Um, Barry, I could just call and talk about anything.
Same like Butch.
Yeah, yeah. Brenda, that was my heart. I um, could just let loose and cry with her like my mother. They all had their special qualities.
So, what about the stars?
Donnie,
I know you were tight with Donnie and Sydney.
yeah, I was tight with all of them really, except Jackie when she was younger, because Jackie wanted to go her own way, and she didn't like being corrected, even if it was for her own good. And she knew it. She resented authority. Um, and Nita was cool. You know, she was the youngest, but she listened to someone her senior.
What were you gonna say about Donnie?
Donnie and I were tight in and out. And it was mostly because Donnie, when he was younger, knew everything about everything. And only when he started getting older did he admit that he didn't know everything. But that's, to this day, that's my boy. And I love him like my brother.
What about?
Because he is.
Right. What about Sydney?
Sydney was like the second sister I didn't have. We were real tight. Real tight.
What about Lynette?
She ended up having a baby by my best friend, Brody Epperson. Trisha is Brody's daughter. And that was from him and I being best friends and living together in West Philly when I graduated. Brody was still in 12th grade. But he moved with me because him and I worked at the bank together. He was one of the 20 students elected with Operation Prepare.
For the Bellingers, who was like the glue? Was it like Uncle Butch or Uncle Bub, Uncle Barry? Like, who was the one that was trying to keep everybody together?
I'd say it was me.
You think you okay?
Yeah.
So I said this to you last week. A lot of people, they lose a parent, but your situation was, that's like a major, like, devastating time, right?
Yeah.
What like, how did you keep going after that? Like, you lose, first it was your mom, my grandmom, and then Brenda,
Yeah,
and then Pop all in a year, right?
year and a half.
Right. Because I know there's people that would think like I wouldn't be able to, you know what I mean, go on.
Well, it was very difficult. And at that time, I relied on the strength of the Lord in conjunction with the drugs that I had started um, when I was working for my uncle, but had to turn to the streets when that um, job ended.
Hmm. Got you. So, what's like something like what would you advise? Like, how would you give advice to somebody like if they going through that same thing? Like to come out different. You know what I mean?
Well, what happened to me, um, it could definitely happen to someone else. I was given an opportunity when I left the bank because I didn't have a steady job to work for a family member, my mother's youngest brother. And the job was from Monday through Friday, 9 to 4, sitting at the table, cutting and bagging heroin. It was my uncle, his wife, the girl underneath of him, and me, 4 of us, at a card table. And we wore masks and gloves. And in doing this for 2 years, I got adept at learning how to skim off the top, only by encouragement from my friends around me.
Hold up. So you were working, you said with your uncle?
Yeah.
Oh. And then that's how
I
you got around it.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't never know that. Okay.
Yep.
And then your friends was basically bringing you down.
They, instead of them telling me no, don't mess with it, they were telling me, get some of it. Let's see what it is.
And that's like a downfall. That was like a downfall.
Sure, because along with getting it, then they wanted to try it. And when they said, do you know what you have? I didn't have a clue, but I know what money is.
Right. So you knew the value, but you didn't know it was, yeah,
Death.
yeah.
So I worked with my uncle for 2 years. These guys were very smart. very business minded. And they had a plan. Their plan was to invest money in this, do it for 2 years, save all they can, get enough money saved, and then stop and live on Easy Street the rest of their life.
And this was in Germantown
This was in West Philadelphia
in the 70s.
in the 70s.
And so what happened with the plan?
Their plan worked.
It worked.
Yeah.
So what happened? But I meant what happened with you though?
Okay. What happened with me is I became my best customer. And yeah, I was making a lot of money from what I was giving to my friends to sell, but I wasn't using the money wisely to buy real estate, put it into
Business.
investments. I was young and dumb and spending like I was the king. So I was basically, I was the cash cow. And I would take all of us to different trips, to different places, New York, Atlantic City.
Were you still staying with your mom and dad?
Yeah.